like children?
I love kids.
You love kids?
I'm Rachel. I've been here almost 11 years. I came initially as a teacher. I taught at an international school. I taught second grade for 3 years. And during my first year here, I knew nothing about Japan when I came. I knew no language. I had no context. I knew I was like naive, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna jump in and see what happens. And I'll be here maybe a year or two, and then I'll do something else. I don't know. And during that first year, like, came face to face with obviously the spiritual reality of Japan, right? And I really didn't even know like how few Christians there were in Japan until I was already living here. I was like, just like really beginning to understand the spiritual poverty of Japan. And like I asked her, like, why do you think this is a reality? And she said, the enemy has convinced us we have no need of a savior. And I think that's really true of Japan, right? Like, Japanese culture has been convinced that we can save ourselves. We don't need a savior. Yeah, the Lord just began to use that in my heart to call me here longer term. And at the same time was really enjoying, there were MKs in our church that I was spending time with, and just really enjoying getting to invest in them. And I had MKs in my class too, but it was the high schoolers that I was really, middle schoolers and high schoolers, just really enjoying investing in them and discipling them, and then spending time with college students at the same time. And so I began to pray through like college student ministry or ministry to MKs, and I felt like it needed to either be like kind of national focused ministry or ministry to MKs, and then Brooks and Riva came. And it was like, oh, I can do both. I can do ministry both to national, next gen, and to missionary kids at the same time. And it was a really natural like fit, and now I'm with Next. So.
I'm Saki. I was born and raised here. My parents are Japanese, and they're staff with Campus Crusade. So I grew up in a Christian family. I became a believer at a young age. I went to the international school with Shori during my middle school and high school years, and I studied abroad in Portland, Oregon, for a couple of years after that. But I think that's when I really realized that there must be a reason that I was born as a Japanese person, but in a Christian family and also in an international environment. Like, there's just not a lot of people like that, and there must be a reason for that. And I really wanted to stay in the States, but God brought me back to Japan, and I really struggled coming back to Japan. But I think God made it clear that He is the one who's sending me back to Japan, and yeah, that really helped me realize that I'm called to serve the Japanese people in Japan. And reaching the next generation. So this is my first year being full-time staff with Next. Yeah.
My name is Shori, and I was born and raised in Christian cult family, but I went to international school at Saki, Rachel taught at. And then in the Bible class, I read Tim Keller's book, and I was like, oh, this is not the same gospel I've been taught in the cult family. So then I started exploring more, and then I graduated international school for high school years, and then I took Liberty University online, and then after 2 years I left the cult, so I packed everything and then left the house, and I was seeking for a college ministry, college fellowship, and then I bumped into Rachel at the CBI building, and I was like, hey, I thought you went back to state, and I thought you burned out.
Because everyone burns out at the school I taught at.
Yeah. So for me, like in my school, there's a lot of missionary kids, and every teacher burned out. Not every, most teachers.
Teachers burnt out.
Burned out every 2 years, and also I keep seeing the families, this like missionary family, but it's just mess. And when they hit teenager, it's just hard. So seeing that, and then but I bumped into Rachel, and I said, I need some like college fellowship. I need some college fellowship, and then I started to attend to her like Bible studies, and then a few years later I became Next Team intern, and now I'm full-time staff. So that's the story. Yeah.
So Next is a global part of MTW that is next generation focused. So it's not just here in Japan. This is the Asia Pacific team, but we have teams in most regions. We need a team in Africa, and we need a team in Enterprise, which is not Enterprise. It's called GMM, Global Muslim Ministries, is the new name for it. But we have a team in Europe. We have a team in the Americas. We have some people based stateside as well. And so Next kind of does three things: going to the nations and doing next gen ministry, training people to do next gen ministry. So that looks like we have some courses that we teach in seminaries around the world, but it also means just training up people within the local church and ministry. Sustaining missionary families in the places that they're called by doing ministry to their kids. And so those three big categories are happening in different regions of the world, and we're kind of over all of Asia. Within that, we all kind of have different roles that we play. So we kind of have local ministries that we do together, and then we kind of each have kind of things that we kind of specialize in. And then we also have regional ministry happening.
One thing that my missionary friend said, like, what do you expect from like a missionary who comes from overseas? He kept saying, like, if you love Jesus and have a teachable heart, you can overcome the language barrier. And I think that's really true. Like, I see like horrible Japanese skill, but this person just keep inviting non-Christian friends to church, and then it's not about language school, but it's about like how much you love Jesus and like passion for Jesus. So don't get discouraged if your grammar is horrible. My English is horrible. My Japanese is horrible. Questionable. Don't worry. Don't worry. Yeah. So yeah. God can supplement whatever weakness you have.
Yeah.
And come with a team. Don't be a solo ranger. Because Jesus sent 2 disciples, so at least come with the 2.
And I think whether you're like sent as a missionary or where you're called to like stay where you are, like you can have such a huge impact on like the youth in your lives. I think growing up in a like family that did ministry full time, like I didn't really have like special like staff kid care, MK care, but there were like missionaries and adults in my church who invested in me. And like as a teenager, like just because you're in your 20s, like you're such a cool person. Like the fact that like
you all
someone,
are so cool right now. You're the coolest you're ever gonna be.
the fact that you're like interested in them, it means so much to them. So I think like even like it doesn't have to be a ministry, just like building a relationship with the youth in like the youth that you already know in your life. I think that has huge impact in their life and their faith. And I have so many adults who weren't in ministry, but they had such a positive impact on my faith just because like they spent time with me, they listened to me, and they loved on me. I think that's something all of us can do, whether we're in ministry or any kind of work or life.
And a lot of Japanese who become Christians became Christian overseas, or they went to like Christian kindergarten. So like if you can mindful of the international students in your area, like Japanese, it can be really impactful. They really they're more open-minded because I want to try American thing, and they go to church and these people are so nice and I can eat food and they care about me. Like that opens a lot of opportunities.
Our church there's only one Christian in our church. The one whose story she just said, the 10 years, this girl that worked at Starbucks. She's the only Christian in our church that didn't go overseas before they became a Christian. And being overseas was a significant part of their story.
Yes.
And so, Masami, too. Right?
I don't know. I've never.
I think
thought about that
it's
before.
crazy, right? they've all been overseas, and it was a significant part of their story of faith. Our church is mostly first generation Christians, also, so it's a little bit different than a historic Japanese church, but it really matters.
Yeah.
Like the time that Japanese people are spending in the U.S.
Yeah.
really matters.
Yeah.
And so if you have opportunities to cross paths with Japanese people as they're in the U.S., their hearts are going to be softer to the gospel than they are any other times in their life.